Continuing my series on the CIA in Hollywood, the Central Intelligence Agency doesn't only just work hand in hand with Hollywood to produce movies and television shows to use them as propaganda, but if you don't go along with what they want you to do, then they may just assassinate you, which is the case of what happened to screenwriter Gary DeVore back in the 1990s. A very popular screenwriter, by the way. His work included Raw Deal, the Arnold Schwarzenegger film, Time Cop, and Sudden Death, starring Jean-Claude Van Damme, and many others. Very popular screenwriter who disappeared in 1997 just after he finished writing his latest screenplay about the United States invasion of Panama, which happened in 1989 under the watch of George H.W. Bush, Bush 41. And his body wasn't found for a year, and when it was finally discovered, that is when the story took a bizarre turn. It was found crashed in his car in an aqueduct in California when the official story claims that he must have fallen asleep at the wheel and just drove off one of the, California cliffs on a long and winding road, and it was just an accident. But when he was pulled from the wreckage, it was discovered, amongst his laptop being missing with the final script just vanished, that he had no hands. His hands had been chopped off because, well, he was tortured, man on fire style, like the Denzel Washington film. Many of you may recall there's a scene in there where he ties a guy up, duct tapes his hands to the steering wheel of a car, and then continues to just chop his fingers off one by one. Denzel Washington plays a former CIA agent turned bodyguard who was going on a rampage to avenge the death of a kidnapped girl, or to try to discover get her back. And so that's apparently what happened to this poor guy. But the coroner, the sheriff's department just didn't need to investigate that. No, hey, some old hands turned up after a while, and I'm sure that the coroner was threatened. Then the coroner said that, well, the hands were 200 years old, but the story just disappeared. Yeah, that's what happens. You don't toe the CIA's line, you might get assassinated. And I'm not talking about the ridiculous YouTube conspiracy theories about the Illuminati murdering celebrities. I mean, most of those people who make those videos and the people who watch them and love them are just mentally ill morons, and they just muddy the water, making it more difficult for people with a true heart to discover the truth. But cases like this, when the CIA has a motive to stop somebody, to shut them up, particularly when it leaks out in the mainstream press. I mean, this is a story from Entertainment Weekly. The disappearance of Gary DeVore. See, sometimes you just can't cover up a story. It's just too difficult. There's too many people that actually are in positions of power within the news and entertainment industry, which sometimes don't go along with their boss's Mockingbird Entertainment Liaison Office agenda. And so even CNN covered this story, before, I guess, he was discovered, and then, just found his hands were missing and the screenplay was just gone with his laptop. And the headlights were turned off in the car, even though he was supposedly driving at night. And he was wearing a seatbelt, even though everybody that knew him said he never wore his seatbelt. But this old CNN article, so old, in fact, it's formatted to the old web standard, so it doesn't quite fit on the page. But there is a documentary film made about the case, The Writer with No Hands. And so that's what happens occasionally when, a powerful filmmaker is going to produce a movie about the real reasons the United States invaded Panama back in 1989. Because as we know, almost every war, almost every military invasion is based off of a lie or a false flag attack. I mean, I'm not even just talking about 9/11. I mean, it just goes back to the Gulf of Tonkin incident, which has been declassified and confirmed to be just a total hoax, a fabrication. So this is just another case of the CIA going to extreme measures to prevent the truth from getting out there. If you're new to my work, subscribe to my YouTube channel. There's a playlist for the CIA in Hollywood. Been doing a series on the CIA's Entertainment Liaison Office, which was created in 1996. or was it 97? I forget. Headed up by a man named Chase Brandon. And then he retired in 2007. He was replaced by a man named Paul Berry. And this is from the CIA's own website, by the way, where they admit that they work hand in hand with the film and television studios to produce propaganda disguised as entertainment. Propaganda like the series 24, very popular on Fox. As this Variety magazine article reveals, the 24 Effect, how liberal Hollywood carried the water for torture. Because this television show brainwashed millions of Americans into thinking that it was necessary for the American good guys to torture suspects and detainees to get information. Because Jack Bauer, the hero, did it, and he always saved the day thanks to his torture. You know, we've been talking about this. A lot of people who know what they're talking about have been trying to report on this, trying to get it through people's heads, and now it's slowly, finally, getting through to a lot of people. I mean, when we have Variety magazine, a Hollywood industry publication, openly admitting that 24 was propaganda to condition the viewers to support torture, we're making some good progress. So, subscribe to my YouTube channel if you're new. Check out the playlist, like I said, for the CIA and the entertainment industry. There's also a entertainment liaison office in the Department of Defense. We can start naming names. Headed up by this guy, Phil Strub, who is the guy that turns over aircraft carriers and tanks and gives access to military bases to Hollywood studios at the expense of our tax dollars in exchange for script approval, control, to make sure that the movies and the television shows are propaganda, to insert themes like pro-torture, etc., etc. And that's why filmmakers like Oliver Stone and his movies, like Platoon, even Matt Damon's Bourne Identity and The Bourne Ultimatum, the CIA hated those movies because they, in a half-truth kind of way, exposed the MK Ultra mind control programs and CIA assassination programs. So the CIA, helps to buy off the Hollywood studios. And then occasionally, if they can't do that, if they can't coerce or scare somebody off, then in the case of Gary DeVore, they'll just kill you.